think service members should start transitioning the day they say, I do solemnly swear or affirm. So the day you sign
Really?
up is the day that you should be seeking out processes for growth, uh, to handle your finances, to grow yourself, to mature yourself as an adult, period. Because a large preponderance of service members start out when they're teenagers. But
Mm.
if you're starting out and you want to get it right, start from the time you do this.
All right, let's get it. Welcome to Chatting with Chief, hosted by Backpack Technologies LLC, a place where we talk about some of the hottest buzzwords and concerns in the IT and cyber worlds. Today's guest, he really doesn't need an introduction, especially in the warrant officer community. But he's internationally known. And he's a mentor of mine. But so I'm just excited today to introduce retired Chief Warrant Officer 5, Roy Rucker, aka Big Ruck, founder and owner and CEO of TRECIG LLC, and I'm your host, Jason Blair from Backpack Technologies LLC. So standard, some of Roy's assignments include the United States Army Pacific Command, the 1st Signal Brigade in Korea, and the 106 Signal Brigade. But again, CW5, long list of assignments. Is going to his LinkedIn page. If you want to know more, feel free to hit him up. Today's topic hits a little close to home, and that's why I reached out to Big Ruck. And that's one of the things that I wish I had before I got out, and that is the subject of transitioning service members. But before we jump right into that, let's meet our guest. Hey Roy, how you been, man?
Doing pretty good, Jason. I want to thank you for having me.
Oh man, thanks for coming on. So, but before we jump right into this, can you give the people out there, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about TRECIG and what TRECIG actually stands for?
Absolutely, Jason. Well, TRECIG is something I usually don't talk about much what the name stands for, but actually I'll tell you, it stands for the Rucker Equity Consulting Investment Group. It's a name I came up with a year and a half before retiring from the Army, because I knew exactly what I wanted to do 10 years prior to retiring. And I've executed on that and been successful for the last 5 years. And a little bit more about
All
me,
right.
if you will, a little bit more about me. I'm from a small town in Mississippi called Pantherburn. I'm a son of the Mississippi Delta. 18 years there growing up, and the military was the best thing that ever happened to me after that.
You and me both. It definitely taught, and the stuff that I learned in the military, I'm definitely moving it forward and paying it forward with my kids and other people, hell, even family, right? So,
Absolutely.
so with everything going on with TRECIG, why are you always so passionate to reach out and help others?
Well, I indeed have a lot going on with TRECIG and some of my other businesses that I have, but I've always had the passion and the wherewithal and the drive to help anyone. I mean, I think it comes from my Mississippi upbringing and the
Mm-hmm.
way my parents raised me, because I grew up dirt poor and having nothing for the most part, but love and the drive that I saw my dad and my mom have to make sure, even though that we were poor and growing up in abject poverty, that we didn't know that. We didn't know until we left. They found some way to work magic and have the hard work and drive to help others and their 6 kids. So seeing them, do the things that they did and by helping others, uh, I guess I have a spirit of paying it forward, and I've always been that way. So it didn't
Yeah.
stop when I retired. So here I am, still doing.
That's so true. Just to chime in a little bit about that, because I remember when we served, and I was a little bit younger than you were, but and you reached out not just to me. It'd be one thing if it was just to me, but to a group of us, and gave us mentorship as I was coming up in the ranks. And then when I retired, you reached out again, and it was sporadic, but you was always there. And I'm not just talking about a connection between you and I, a personal one. At that, I'm talking about connections that I've also talked to other colleagues and friends of mine that you continue to reach out with passion to help. So that's one thing that's been part of your character, sir, and I salute you for that.
Thank you.
So, all right, since we're talking about transition, hey, you deserve it. So, if you can sum up in like a few points, 3 to 5 points, what do you think service members need before transitioning
Well,
from the military?
first of all, I would tell any service member to ensure that transition is exactly what you want to do before you do it. Some people jump out and they're not ready. Um, but and point number two that coincides with point number one, ensure that your exit strategy is solid and that you have a solid plan. It's best to talk to trusted advisors or mentors who have transitioned and they're doing successful things. Talk to those people. Don't be afraid of them. And I'm quite sure you'll get the requisite advice that's needed. Because it's a scary moment. You've done something for a number of years and now you're transitioning to go do something else. It's always going to be slightly scary. Um, point number three, I would say transition debt free as possible, as free as possible of debt. Not death, but debt. Well, death too, but debt. uh, in that whole
Yes.
debt execution plan, have at least a year's worth of money saved up that'll allow you to live, a year or so, 2 or 3 years free with the money that you have saved up. Because cost of living can hit you hard, and people, if you're retiring, a lot of people depend on military retirement and or disability to live off of, and that's part of your plan. Make sure that fits your lifestyle. You don't want a second chapter shock to come and hit you that you don't have enough money or that you have to go find a job and you have to work. Just ensure that you're as debt free as possible. Uh, point number four, I would say ensure that you kind of have a job. If you want to go into a job, kind of ensure that you have a job waiting on you. Planning that, talking to requisite authorities that have job postings and everything else. You can reach out to those companies. You just can't talk about dollars and hiring. You kind of want to keep your legal boundaries established, but you can reach out to companies to see, if you're a good fit for them. Um,
Right.
talk about internships. With the plans that are out now and the programs that are out now, the military internships, they help greatly. They help prepare people before they even get out. And point five, spend time on leave as a civilian, not a military guy, not in the military processes or thought processes, but while you're on leave, enjoy the civilianness of leave. Get out and do things. Talk to regular civilians quite often to see how they're coping with today's economy, with the business structures that are out there. Those kind of things will help you be prepared better. I mean, those are my top 5 tips for anybody that's thinking about transitioning.
Those some great points, especially that number 5. Taking leave and actually
Right.
enjoying your leave and trying to decompress. A lot of people hear about it, but everybody's still sneaking off and trying to check their email. And I think that's very key. Just learning how to relax, learning how to shut your brain off, and it's a lot harder
Yes.
than what people. Do you believe now, currently, with the crop of people that's coming out? Do you think that they're setting them up for success? Why or why not?
Well, overall, I feel the services, especially Army, are taking strides in the right direction with TAP and ETAP. Uh, TAP and ETAP have been around for a while. I did the ETAP, the Executive Transition Assistance Program, uh, I think a year and a half before I retired. And there was some good nuggets in that, but there was still
Hmm.
a lot left to be desired in that program. Um, but I found out if you apply yourself while you're in that program, it'll work well for you. But if you sit back and you depend on the professionals that are assisting in the program or outside entities to come to you and lay out the red carpet for you, well, you're going to be sad. Um, so regardless of the programs themselves, it's best to just enthrall yourself in what's there. Again, reach out to mentors, reach out to friends who've been through the process and are in their second chapter, having fun. But there's a wealth of advice and stuff that's all coupled in those programs. But soldiers and service members just have to take the opportunity to really look at those programs and see how they fit for them. And with the advent of all this technology and all these, service members getting out and being successful, there shouldn't be not one service member who's left by the wayside, um, trying to figure it out. And that's why, going back to one of the first questions you asked, that's why I still mentor. That's why, I'm still part of a lot of soldiers transitioning. And I get the rogue phone calls. I call them rogue phone calls because a lot of people I don't know. They're like, "Hey man, I heard about you. And I heard you know about these things. Can you talk to me?" And I never turn one away. I think the DOD is still kind of getting it right.
Hey, you heard it here, folks. If you give him a call, he won't turn you away. So I'll put his phone number right in the comments section. No, I'm just kidding, but just find him on LinkedIn. He'll still before you gonna get spammed. But all right, let's move on. So since this is an IT and cyber focused show, right? What IT or a specific or cyber advice you would give to transitioning service members?
Well, I'm still wearing my signal orange until this very day, though I've been transitioned for 5 years. To all my signal and
Yeah.
cyber warriors out there seeking transition, please start planning at least 2 years, if not more, prior to your transition. I mean, the Army has set all of us up as warrant officers, especially, but enlisted and regular commissioned officers have set us up with, the career that we had in the military with a devout skill set, with certifications, leadership enhancement abilities, and all that other good stuff. Use it. I mean, I've seen soldiers transition and they say, "Well, I'm never going to do what my MOS was ever again." That's fine and dandy. That's all fine and dandy. But if you're one of those that don't want to use the MOS to ever do what the Army taught you to do or the services taught you to do what you love. I mean, I love construction. So guess what I do in my time back in Mississippi to help my hometown recover? I do construction. But if you are a cyber and IT soldier looking to transition, there are a wealth of jobs, wealth of opportunities out there that'll pay you anywhere from $80,000 a year up to half a million, $1 million or more. It depends on how you apply yourself prior to getting out. That sets you up for success when you do get out. With the requisite certifications, the leadership abilities, having the network, and I'll step my foot on having the network of people that you're connected to that can help you guide through some processes. So, and then you have guys like me on the outside who have successfully transitioned. I'm successful in my second chapter. I have my own cyber and IT defense contracting company. I'm a source to reach out to because I can tell you what you're worth. I can tell you if you're a good fit for certain cyber and IT jobs or not because I hire people to do those things on my defense contracts. So that's the advice I got for that.
So I know you mentioned 2 years at least,
Mhm.
but when do you think that a service member needs to start their transitioning process?
So great. The official start that's always put out there is, you can start TAP or ETAP 2 years prior to now. It used to be a year. I think it's 2 years now. And you can attend multiple times. But as far as true transitioning, I think service members should start transitioning the day they say, "I do solemnly swear or affirm." So the day you sign
Really?
up is the day that you should be seeking out processes for growth, uh, to handle your finances, to grow yourself, to mature yourself as an adult, period. Because a large preponderance of service members start out when they're teenagers. But
Hmm.
if you're starting out and you want to get it right, start from the time you do this. If you have parents who've been in the military, ask them about how they transitioned to their second chapter after the fact. If you got family members, well, I said family members, but like mom and dad or uncles or cousins or friends who've been in the military, friends of the family, talk to those people to find out their mistakes. So throughout your life cycle of service, you want to mature and grow. You want to learn about, of course, the leadership, about your MOS, your skill set, about and finances, um, and about building portfolios. And included in that portfolio is your network of friends who are good in the military and they're great outside of the military. That network of people that you can just reach out to and to enhance your own life. So the transitioning process, I would say, starts well before 2 years before retirement or ETSing. It starts the moment you do this.
So here's a question, right? And I really want to get your take on this one, right? So and it's kind of a layered question if you think about it. You know, how is what you're saying different from taps or any other service transitioning program that's out there?
So the information I'm providing is not so much different than TAP or ETAP. Uh, but from my perspective, I can provide advice from having served 30 years, retired service member, and then now I'm enjoying my second chapter. Um,
Mhm.
I have, even in my second chapter, I've traversed highs and lows. I've had almost 2 months worth of depression coming out of the military. Though I had a solid plan that has set me up for success, I was slightly depressed because I missed the people that I was around every day. I didn't miss the uniform so much, but I missed the people. And then I had to, jumpstart my network, let people know, hey, I'm still here. I'm still here to help. And hey, I'm still here. I might need some advice. But it's not so much different. It's the willingness to listen to me over people standing in those workshops, or just truly opening up yourself to be vulnerable to those people in those workshops. Because most leadership, that senior leaders, they go, oh, I got it figured out. I'm a retired CW5,
Right.
CW4, or sergeant major, or colonel, or general officer. I got it figured out. Those are some of the worst people who get out and think they have it all put together, and they fall flat on their faces. Because I've had a lot of those people to pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, Big Ruck, man, I got to humble myself to come and talk to you because I thought I had it all figured out. Um, this is what they told me in ETAP or TAP. Make it make sense to me. So, and I've had to, go back and say, hey, this is how I took it. This is what it means to me. Let me introduce you to this person that can help you out further. So it's not
Yeah.
much difference. It's how it's applied.
And I think one key thing to that is experience, relevancy, right?
Yeah.
Especially when they know you, or they know, like you was talking about networking, they know you, they know somebody that knows you, maybe they've talked to you, versus a bunch of people standing up there, and they're given truthfully from what they know, the
Yes.
advice that they have, or what's being presented to them to present to you. But to have somebody that's been through it, have other people that that's been through it, that have your best interests in mind, I think opens it up. And I think you and I talked about this, is being ready to receive that information, because a lot of times we hear a lot of this stuff years in advance before we even decide to do the transition.
Right.
But is being ready to receive. So so that brings me to the next thing, right? So I love this. I love this dialogue. So what role do you believe the leadership should take in assisting service members? And I'm not just talking about the service members that's retiring. I think
Right.
that's well established. But just service members that did they 6, 8 years. Like how should leadership treat them and assist them with their next chapter?
Right. So I think the leadership needs to always be well informed, because you got to remember, though, that leadership is still serving too. They don't have the ability to
Mm-hmm.
take off the uniform and be a civilian full time unless they're reservists, or National Guard, and they have the best of both worlds. But if you're on active duty serving as a leader, as a senior leader like I was, I would have people to come to me and ask me, hey, Chief, what do you think about this on the outside? Well, I can only tell them as it was applicable to my plan, my 10-year, 15-year plan that I had already in place, and I started delivering pieces of that. So the pieces of that I've seen that I've delivered to people, it was a success for them, and I was happy. But to get back to strictly the leadership that you have in place right now, they need to know what's there. They need to understand what's there before they can deliver to a soldier prior to ETS. Hey, this is what you need to do. Or here's some internships out here that you can get involved in. But the leadership has to be, well versed themselves before they can deliver that. And for what I've seen in the last 5 years with people that have transitioned under leaders that I knew or leaders that I know, it's been pretty scary. It's been pretty scary. So I've had to call some of
Yeah.
those leaders and talk to them and tell them, hey, you failed this soldier. You have really failed this soldier. And then open and honest conversation, because those leaders know me. They know me personally and professionally. They'll say, hey, how did I fail? Help me help them. Help me to understand some of these programs that are out in the civilian sector that I can introduce to these kids. And I open up the book for them. Here you go. You know, my company, and I don't want to, throw my company out there, but my company goes above and beyond when it comes to service members. One of our things is I take pride in helping, even if I'm not going to hire some of the service members, I take pride into helping them understand who they are and what they're worth and the access they have to commercial opportunities or contracting opportunities. And I don't just tell them about them, but I go to the leadership in those companies and I open up the doors and put them in there. Because if a soldier can be trained, and 85, 90% of the soldiers that come in the military are highly trained. They have the ability to be able to be trained. That's what corporations want to hear. I can teach this well-disciplined soldier how to do this job? Oh yeah. So the leadership in the military needs to know that those connections and those opportunities are out there. They just need the access to them to be able to help those ETS and soldiers.
I mean, we could keep going on, but and I know that you got a nonprofit out there. Am I correct?
Yes, it's called the Rucker Foundation.
Yeah.
We used to be a global foundation, but it's been tiered down to just support the Mississippi Delta, where I'm from, because it's one of the most impoverished places in the United States, and I wanted to make sure that I was given ample opportunities and exposure and support to the community that I came from that made me the person I am today.
Hey, Roy, you dropped a lot of nuggets today, and I appreciate you coming on. How can people get in contact with you to learn more, or just to pick your brain?
So I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find on Facebook. It's Roy Big Rucker Sr. on LinkedIn, and it's the same on Facebook and all of my other social media outlets. My direct email is roy.rucker@TRECIG, TRECIG, Tango, Romeo, Echo, Charlie, India, Golf.com. And my phone number is 254-338-6131. It's direct to me. I'm not afraid to get it out there. Either I'm going to answer your call or I'm not. So, but I usually answer calls when I have the time to support. I've always been that way, Jason. You know it. I'll give out the phone number in a heartbeat, because you never know who needs to call you to hear a word of encouragement. So I've opened myself up.
I guess it will be down in the comment section, but that's out there now. But hey man, this has been great. If there's going to be other opportunities, season 2 or down the road, but I would love to have you back to talk about some other things, or we could continue this conversation, because we could talk about this for days. But sir, I appreciate you coming on.
Got a lot of technical topics out there we can discuss, brother, but I salute you and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a good one, man.
You too. Bless.